Hey, hope you're good. Just Matt here. Just going to shoot you a little video on the main principles really behind intuitive eating and the way forward. So, obviously, what we've coached you through up to now has been really about an exploration of how what you're eating, okay, and the relationship of the different carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, okay, together. What works for you, what works better for you, and what maybe you could do in the future. So now, obviously, like I said to you from the outset, it's not this is not like a 28-day or a 6-week crash course. This is about taking these principles forward so that you can use them in in your everyday life for the rest of your life. Okay, and I stand by that. All right, and otherwise, this whole thing is just pointless. Okay, so the principles that I want you to know and to take away with you now, so that you can use this kind of intuitively to make better decisions moving forwards. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about visualization of the foods on your plate and that sort of stuff as well. So get your pen and paper ready, because there might be some bits and pieces in here that you want to pause the video for and make notes on. All right. So for me, like, just to give you a bit of background on intuitive eating, it's not something that someone just pulled out the air like some fluffy kind of statement. Intuitive eating is actually evidence based. Okay, it's a mind-body connection. And it's comprised really of 10 sort of major principles, which I'm going to go through with you. And it's created by two dietitians, okay, way back in 1995. So, and a lot of the principles, obviously, because they're principle based, not fads, they reign true to today. Okay, the principles were worked by either kind of cultivating, removing obstacles from around your body awareness, a process known as interoceptive awareness. Okay, essentially, really, what we're doing with intuitive eating is it's a sort of a personal process of sort of listening to your body and the direct messages that you get from it in order to meet your physical and psychological needs. So we know that nutrition is very, very holistic. So physically, we will require certain foods to maintain muscle mass, to keep our metabolism high, improve bone health, keep bone density high. Okay, but also psychologically as well. Like, we know that sometimes we look at a food and we think, "Oh, that'd be really tasty," but actually, I don't know if it's really that, if it's what I should have right now, or yep, I'm definitely having that today. I've earned it. That kind of relationship. All right. So it's also underpinned as well by an understanding of what major macronutrients are required. So I've taken you through that, hopefully, and you understand that now, for health, and also how to source them and get them from whole nutritious sources. So the whole way through, I will have been talking to you about, a better source of carbohydrate would be this. Okay, not just for the own goodness of my own health, and just to sort of hear my own voice. Absolutely not. More about me making sure that you have an awareness of what is a better choice as you go through. Okay, and we also like to teach you as our clients how to select foods with the good levels of micronutrients as well. So without going into detail around exactly what micronutrients are in every single thing that we're eating with protein in it. So I'm not telling you that prawns have got really high levels of zinc in them, and I'm not telling you that the steak has got really high levels of glutamine in it, which helps white blood cell production. It's like a level of understanding that you don't necessarily need to have, okay, unless you specifically need it for either a medical condition or because you're interested. All right, so that's where we're at really right now in your program. What intuitive eating is not, or what is not intuitive eating? Intuitive eating is not a diet, okay? Food plan, whatever you want to call it, okay? Anything that's kind of restrictive to the point where, now don't get this twisted with, being on a healthy nutrition plan, nutrition lifestyle, okay? It's a journey, and it's what you kind of connect yourself with, all right? It's a little bit more psychological, intuitive eating, okay? Because you have to make decisions that are a little bit more subjective rather than objective, counting calories, etc. Okay. But in my opinion, once you've grasped and created the habits around what you actually need to do to optimize health, then you're ready for this approach, which is why I'm giving it to you at this point in the program, not straight away. Okay. So at this point forward, moving forward, you're going to go from counting calories into a more flexible approach. But only really once you're happy that you're at where you should be. Okay, so if you're not where you need to be right now, then you need to continue adopting some of this psychologically, this approach where, okay, so am I getting enough protein in? Quick check. No, I'm 25% down on what I should be. Okay, or I'm 10% lower on my calories than I really need to be. Yeah, so that's where the intuitive eating, you may not be ready for this yet. Okay, intuitive eating relies on you being able to look at the plate and go, yeah, that's about right for me. Okay, that's where a lot of people go wrong. Really, is they put way too much on their plate, and they'll dominate the plate far too much with like one macronutrient. Okay, and it's often carbs because they're just so easy to put on a plate. Yeah, that's why I sort of encourage you to put protein on your plate first, and then build your meal around that. Much easier. Okay, especially like when you're thinking about your meals, like intuitively. Yeah, like men, 2 palms protein, ladies, maybe 1 palm. Okay, men, 2 fists of carbohydrate, yeah, or vegetables, yeah. Ladies, 1. Guys, 2 thumbs worth of fats. Ladies, 1. That's where we're going with the intuitive eating. Okay, as a rough guide, you will not go far wrong with that approach. Okay, you eat sort of 3-4 times a day, so you're going to get enough in there. Ultimately, though, you're going to be the expert of your own body. Okay, so only you will kind of know what your hunger, fullness, and satisfaction feels like. Okay. You'll only know your thoughts and your feelings and your experiences. Me as your coach, I'm definitely happy to help you make these decisions when you need me to. Okay, so if you're in any doubt, then that's when you ask me. So for me, there's like 10. Well, not for me. These 10 have actually been identified by the dietitians that I mentioned earlier, but I've kind of moved them around a little bit to suit what I want to talk to you about in terms of moving forwards for you. But basically, the first one is kind of rejecting that diet mentality. I talked to you about that on day 1 when you first met me. Yeah, we're not on a diet. Yeah, we're looking at lifestyles to make better choices. Okay, this whole thing's a lifestyle. Okay, if I leave you with nothing else, it's a lifestyle. Okay, and that's what I want you to sort of take away with you. All right. So we're definitely not on any diets. Okay, and you're never going to be on a diet again. Promise. Okay. The second thing is that you honour your hunger. Okay, so keeping your body biologically fed with adequate energy, yeah, so that can come from, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, whatever. But going on a carb-free diet is nonsense. Okay, it's pretty much impossible. Okay, to do. I'm not going to say it's impossible because you could actually do it, but you wouldn't last that long. Or you'd be pretty horrendous to be around. Okay, lower carb could make more sense, and the balance often makes total sense. So we often talk, about aiming around 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fat. Okay, so a pretty balanced approach, I would say, overall. But you can easily see, as many of you may well have seen, how that can get excuse me, how that can get out of balance if we're not aware of what things are in our food. So once you reach that moment of excessive hunger, then all of your moderate, conscious eating and sort of feelings are irrelevant because you basically go into survival mode. Okay, so we need to look at this way that we're on in our hunger and making sure that when we do eat, we're not going to those foods laden with MSGs, which basically ruin that connection between our stomach and our brain. All right, so to give you an example of something with MSGs, Pringles, another example, Chinese takeaways, etc. You get the idea. All right, so those foods ruin that link. They just turn it off so you keep eating. All right. Third thing, we're going to talk about making peace with food, which I think you've probably already done anyway. So I think you just need to give yourself unconditional permission to eat. There's no such, we do not do starvation, okay? And that's why we talk about, and you'll have seen in week 4, okay, that we talk about that 90-10 rule, okay? And there is nothing that is not allowed, okay? So that's that whole mentality, I wrote at the bottom there, white line fever, that whole mentality around food where it's like, I can't have it, but on Sunday I can, okay? Because I'm over the 6 weeks. Yeah, that white line fever, unfortunately, is the thing. It's that all or nothing approach that leads to people falling off the wagon, and then and they do it, and it happens more often. And then unfortunately they slip back into their old ways, and it goes even worse. Okay, so if you tell yourself you can't or shouldn't have a particular food, okay, it can lead to feelings of deprivation. So what about, like we've said before, in the 90-10 rule, having a little bit of that every now and again, so that we can keep that momentum going. All right. The fourth thing. The food, please, okay? I think we're looking at, in your head, good Meeting good for eating minimal calories, bad because you have a piece of chocolate cake. I think you need to be really wary of that. Like we've stressed heavily in this program that there are minimum requirements of calories that you should eat because we know that that's healthy. Okay. And we've also acknowledged that you know it's not ruined if you have something that's slightly off piste. Okay. Because we know we can still get good results and still achieve great health, okay, by having balance in our approach to our food. Okay, so the food police kind of monitor like sort of the unreasonable rules of the popular dieting, as you've probably seen in the media, etc. Before. Me as your coach, there is definitely no police talk going to happen. Okay, I think we need to eat to nourish our body, yeah, and our mind. So just remembering that the food police look at it very black and white. Okay, so if it's not broccoli, it's not healthy. Yeah, so we need to look at this, in a sort of flexible way as well. Not so authoritative is probably what I was trying to say. Okay, so the fifth thing, respecting your fullness. So listen to the signals that tell your body that you're no longer hungry. So we think about like if you try to get yourself to sort of 80% full, yeah, so you're never stuffed. Okay, because when you're stuffed, there is a little bit more to go yet because there is that delay between the signals in your stomach and your brain. Okay, so that's why often they say about waiting sort of 20 minutes after you've had something to eat, okay, before you have something else to eat, because it's probably going to, that's in that time it's probably going to help you to make a better decision as to whether or not you need anything more. All right, so observing the signs that you're comfortably full. Eating slowly is really, really important, not rushing your food. And sort of like obviously acknowledging the taste of the food, etc. Okay. The sixth thing is discovering sort of satisfaction, right? So I think one of the problems that people get is that we get so caught up in losing weight and losing body fat, okay? And I'm not saying they're not important because obviously that's why we're doing the program because that's what we want to try and achieve, and we want to be leaner, healthier, fitter, stronger, look good. Go on holiday, feel great about ourselves. I think that's absolutely awesome. I think nothing wrong with that at all. However, if we forget the satisfaction that we can get around food, then we've missed out on one of the real main things, like the social elements around your food. So going out for dinner with your friends, eating to fuel performance. There's absolutely nothing wrong with thinking like that. So like if you've got a long session to do, or if you've got you're going to go for a long cycle, then you might want to think about the types of food you eat for fueling. So being more in tune with why you're eating the food you're eating and what you're doing with it. And there's plenty of room for flexibility, as I sort of said on the last slide as well. Okay. So when you eat, what you really want to do is eat in an environment that's conducive. Yes, you're going to get pleasure out of your food. Okay. It sounds quite sort of almost psychological, philosophical, because it is. Okay, because it's a massive part of your nutrition, which is psychological, which I said at the very start. Okay. And I think what you'll find is that the more satisfied you are, yeah, because you're getting more nutritious food in, the less food it's going to take you to decide that you've had enough. Okay. So finding ways to sort of honour your feelings without using food. Now, I think there's another way of just sort of titling that would have been emotional eating. Okay, but I didn't want to use that just boldly there in the yellow title because emotional eating for me, I don't want to make it sound like a negative thing and down someone for that because we know it happens, and unfortunately some people get themselves in a position where it does happen. But moving forwards, what I urge you to do is that when things are stressful, if like something's happened or and you've had a really bad day at work, don't come home and get a gin out. Okay, don't go to the chocolate bar. Don't go and get a chocolate bar from the spa shop or whatever. Okay, find ways to kind of comfort and nurture, distract yourself without using food. Okay, because that's a slippery slope. Okay, emotional eating is a slippery slope. So people get anxious, lonely, bored, anger. Yeah, they're all emotions that we all feel. Remember that the emotions aren't actually things. Yeah, they're just derived from thoughts. Right, so we often like our food choices are derived from thoughts. Okay, and they can be affected by these sort of emotions. Okay. So food, we know will not fix any of those. In fact, actually what happens is it distracts you from the pain, but it makes you worse, like a credit card. Yeah? Okay. Food won't solve the problem. Okay. Emotionally hungry, feeling that. It's a bit like you wouldn't come home from, you wouldn't eat a load of food that you know is bad for you and then deliberately go to the shop 6 weeks later and try on clothes that are fairly tight. You just wouldn't do it. Like, so you need to think of it like that as well, really. It's like, okay, so am I actually eating now in line with what I want to try and achieve long term, or am I eating emotionally? Okay, so just something to bear in mind. Okay, your feelings around food. Okay, so this one here, sort of respecting your body. Okay, so I think it's hard to reject the diet mentality if you're really overcritical about your body shape the whole time. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. Like, it certainly wasn't built in 28 days. It certainly wasn't built in 6 days. And it wasn't built in 12 weeks. Okay, so we offer programs, obviously, of those lengths just to help you get started. Okay, respecting your body, okay, long term, and not being overly critical about your body shape long term is something that you need to think about. Because if you're overly critical all the time, you won't enjoy the process that you're trying to go through to get in really good shape and feel great, 90% of the time. Okay, we're not going to feel great every day. The ninth thing, like exercise. Okay, intuitive eating relies on exercise. Okay, if you want to be in great shape, you've got to train. Okay, I challenge you to find me somebody who's in amazing shape, and I don't mean like looks good. I mean actually performs well. Okay, that doesn't train and use weights. I just haven't seen anybody yet. If you find me somebody who moves really well, can do all of the body weight exercises absolutely fine, has never trained a day in their life, I'd love to meet them because they've obviously got something that we need to tap into. But don't twist that for sort of militant exercise, as you've seen, like with the sessions that we do. Great fun. We have a lot of fun. We do some, but it's well thought out. It's progressive. It gives you everything you need to get the results that we talk about during this program. Okay, but moving forwards, okay, you need to lift weights regularly. Okay, in a consistently and well programmed manner. Okay. So when you're training, what I want you to think about is, rather than when you're training, think about, okay, so I'm going to burn 326 calories in this session, and if I do one more squat, I might burn another half a calorie. Think about it actually as like, I'm going to train today, so I'm energized for the rest of the day. I'm making a difference to the people around me. I think if your goal is to lose weight when you wake up in the morning, the motivating factor could be lost in any moment of time right around that. All right, so if it's windy outside, if it's wet outside, okay, so obviously we train in the winter all year round. We'll have like 25 people at -5 in the winter. I can guarantee you that most of those people that turn up on that morning, the first thing they didn't think in the morning was that they wanted to get out of bed because they wanted to lose weight. They got out of bed because they enjoy the feeling. Okay, losing body fat is a consequence of a well-planned lifestyle. Okay. The 10th thing we're going to do here is and it's the last thing we're going to talk about here, is making food choices that honour your health and your taste buds and make you feel well. So remembering that you don't have to eat a perfect diet to be healthy. Okay, I'm going to close on that. Obviously, there is no such thing as perfection, especially around nutrition. We're aiming for excellence. We often talk about that. So perfection is a state that really no one knows, because there is no such thing. Okay, whereas excellence is just a bit better than you were before. Okay, like you won't suddenly get a nutrient deficiency or gain weight from one snack or one meal or one day of eating that was way out. But what it will do is it's cumulative. So one of the things we talk about is, okay, so I've gone out at the weekend. Is that going to ruin my whole progress? No. Okay, but if you do it every weekend, then yeah. So what we need to look at is fitting that in with our lifestyle, so it doesn't slip in like Friday evening 2 glasses of wine, Saturday evening pizza, wine, chocolate, cheese, Sunday out for roast, another 2 glasses of beer, come home, no dinner. So we've stuffed ourselves at lunchtime. And we get up on Monday morning and we try to pretend that everything's going to be perfect and fine again. It's just not going to happen. So you need to think about this as like a whole week spread out, okay? But equally, we don't want to smash our results Monday to Thursday and then fall off the wagon Friday, Saturday, Sunday and ruin everything, okay? So, or equally, we don't do it the other way around, all right? So we're really, really poor because we don't organise ourselves Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we become what we call the weekend warrior. So we only train at weekends, but we do try to do 6 hours at the weekend because we haven't done anything during the week. The best results will come from 40 to 60 minutes a day, okay, 5 times a week. All right, in terms of optimizing body fat position. Yeah, so I'm not talking about like putting yourself on like a bodybuilding stage. Okay, that's completely different. But I'm talking about being healthy, having a great sense of control over your life, and feeling like you want to progress on and do more stuff. Okay, that's what we find when people come to us. They come to us initially for the first 6 weeks. Yeah, the majority of people stay with us for a long, long time. Some people have been with us for 10 years, okay, or more, and they go off on they go on a path that they never believed was possible. Okay, so for us, it's like we need to think about honouring your health long term. Okay, so we're not aiming for perfection, we're aiming for excellence. Okay, and considering that you won't ruin your whole effort in one meal or one day. Okay, but consider that if that day happens every week, you're going to go backwards. All right, so that's what we want to do. So we want to make sure we're consistent over time. Okay, righty. Hopefully that was useful. Any questions? Obviously, just let me know.